It's Miss Saida with Scratch. Today I'm going to show you how to create your own Scratch account. Alright, let's dig right in. So first you want to make sure you go ahead and open up a web browser. I'm going to make myself a little smaller so you guys can see what I'm doing. So first thing you're going to do is open up a web browser. You're going to go to scratch.mit.edu. So that's scratch.mit.edu. On your web browser, once you have a page that looks like this, you're going to go ahead and click on Join Scratch. Here, it'll ask you to create a username. For your username, you don't want to use your real name, so it can be something fun and creative. For me, I'm going to go ahead and write down Flying Monkey. Okay, and I'll do 1, 2, 3. Now, you want to make sure that you remember your username, right? Because that's what you'll use to log in. And I'm going to create password. But you'll notice that on the side, there is a yellow tab that says username taken, try another. So you want to make sure you have your own unique username. So I might change the numbers around to 2678. Let's see if that's taken. Oh, nice. So that's not taken. So I might want to write that down. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my notes. And I'm going to copy with Control C or Apple C. And then paste. And so that's my username. I just want to remember that for next time. Next up, I'm going to have a password. So you guys can see my password, but you want to make sure it's a special password that you can remember. I'm just going to put down demo123 for mine. And you need to make sure that the password matches, just in case you make a mistake. So demo123. And along with my username, I'm also going to copy that into my notepad so that way I can remember it for later. Now, you can use a paper and pen to write down your username and password so you don't forget it, or you can just go ahead and leave it on your computer offline somewhere. Next up, I'm going to click Next. What country do you live in? United States of America. And then you go ahead and click Next. When were you born? So this is information that they'll keep private, but it's just to keep a record of their users. So I'm going to go ahead and put November, and I'm going to put 2013. Okay, let's see. And they'll ask you some more questions, and you can prefer not to answer if you don't want to. So this part is important. This is your email address. So it can be either your email address or your parents' email address. The reason why this is important is because if you lose your password or your username, it will be directed to this email. So you want to make sure you have access to an email that works for you. So I'm going to go ahead and write down my email address. And this is not my real email address, but it's one that I like to use for projects. And you can receive emails from the Scratch team about project ideas, events, and more. And just so you guys know, it says, by creating an account, you acknowledge the privacy policy and you accept and agree to the terms of use. And then you can create your account. And so now I can get started on Scratch with my username and password. And so if you want to activate your account in order to share and comment on different projects that other people are working on, you have to go to your email address and click on the link that they sent you. And here you go. And now you'll see that my name, Flying Monkey 2678, is here. I have one new mail or one new message. And so here they're just introducing me to Scratch. The other great thing about having a username and an account is once you go to create, you can save. And once a project is saved, you can go to your username and see my stuff. And here is my project that I just saved. So it's really great because you can go back to any projects that you have worked on before, right? And I'll just go right back to it. Yep. And here I can change the title. So I'm going to put scratchy, exclamation mark. So that's one way you can save your projects. The other thing you can also do is you can see what it looks like, or you can see inside. And so it'll open your project right back up. So you might want to edit it to see what it can look like. And you can also edit the name up here as well. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and press save now. And now when I go to my stuff, I'm going to go to Scratchy. And so you'll see here, I can share it with people. You can get comments. You can tell people how to use your project. You can tell people how you made the project. So this is really great for sharing with the Scratch community. So this is a great way for you guys to share with each other if that's something you'd like to do. So that's how you create your account on Scratch. Have fun. Hi everyone, it's Miss Saida with Scratch. Today we are going to create our own game called Pong. Okay. So the way you play this game is we want to keep the ball that we have from falling off onto the ground. So every time we keep the ball from falling, we'll get points. And if you get a certain amount of points, you win. But today you get to create what those points look like, what the ball looks like, and what the background looks like. So let's get ready. For this program, we will be doing 6 steps. The first step is bounce around. Second step, move the paddle. Third step, bounce off the paddle. Fourth step, game over. 5th step, score points. And the 6th step, win the game. So let's get started. First, you should already be logged in to your Scratch, right? And on a blank canvas. I'm going to start off by creating my title. I'm going to make that Pong. Second thing I need is a ball. So where can I go to get my ball? Exactly, I can go to my Sprite. Down here. Let me try to make this a little bigger for you guys. I'm going to choose my Sprite. So it can be a ball or it can be something small. It could be an apple, it could be a basketball. I might try to see what it looks like with a basketball. And I don't really need Scratchy the cat, so I'm going to get rid of him. See, so I'm going to click on him. And I'm going to put him in the trash. So now I have my basketball. Now I'll need a background. Now remember, you can choose any kind of ball you want, any kind of background you want. I might try something like this one. So that'll be my backdrop. Next up, I'll need something on the ground, right here, to keep the basketball from falling. So I might try to grab another Sprite. What's a Sprite that I can use that can help me from keeping the basketball from falling? So it can be something like a line. So I might go ahead and search for that line. Oh, I can use this right here. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so this is my line. Actually, my line here is too big, so I need to make it smaller. So remember that when you click on your Sprite, you have some information here that can help you position your Sprite. So here it says my size is 100. Now I want it to be smaller. What number can I use here? I'll try 50. Now, does that still feel a little too big? Probably. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Let's try half of that, 25. Still too big, right? Oh, that's 36. Let's see if I can make it smaller. 20. So right now it's saying the shortest the line can be is 36. Now you can keep your line like this, or you can change your sprite to another line. So I might try, well, I kind of want a paddle, so I'm going to try a paddle. Here we go. Here's a paddle. So my paddle is actually the perfect size that I want it to be. So I'm going to get rid of my line. And how do I do that? I'm going to click on line, and I'm going to trash it. Instead, I'm going to keep my paddle, but that is too high, so I'm going to drag it down. Now, first things first, I need my ball to move. So in order for me to do that, I'm going to go ahead and create a code for my ball. So I'm going to make sure my ball is clicked. And here I can see that I'm going to be working with my ball. Now, for my ball, I want it to move 15 steps. So I'm going to look for a way to move it. And remember, I'm looking in motion. So when I'm looking in motion, I'm just looking for it to move a little bit. So here, I have moved 10 steps. How can I make it move 15 steps? Exactly, I can just put it right in here. 1, 5, 15. So nothing is happening to my ball. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna go ahead and tell it that it needs to move when I click my green line here, my go sign here. So let's try that. And remember, when I tell it to do something, I'm going to look under events. So when my green flag is clicked, it'll move 15 steps. Well, let's see. It moved 15 steps. Now, I don't want to keep clicking it. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and make this go forever. So I'm going to move this out of here. Now, remember, forever is a control, right? Because it's going to do it on its own. So I'm going to move forever over here. And I'm going to bring this back up. Let's see what that looks like. So my ball moved all the way to the right, but it won't come back. So I'm going to look for another control that'll help me bring it back. Now, I don't see anything in control that could maybe help. So I might try looking in motion. Because it's on the edge, I might look for a motion that'll help me get off the edge. Let's take a look. So, here I see if on edge, bounce. Let's try that. I'm going to move that into here. Ooh, perfect. And now it's bouncing from left to right. Right off the edges. Okay, so I've got it going left to right, but I needed to touch my green paddle. How can I do that? Well, I know I want it to move, so that's going to be another motion. So let's take a look at some motions that could help me. Oh, maybe I can turn it around. Let's see what that looks like. I'm going to turn it around in here. Let's see. I'm going to stop it. Oop, I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to click go again. Oh, I love the way that's moving all over my screen. And it's not staying in one spot. It's not going into one angle. It's going all around. So that's the first thing we've done. And so we've just completed our first step, which is bounce around. Perfect. Now on to step 2. Step 2 is move the paddle. That's what we'll do. So step 2 is move the paddle. So I know right now I am on my Sprite for my basketball, because I can see that up here. So I need to switch over to my paddle, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click on paddle. And actually, I can stop that. So now I need to make my paddle move. And do I need to move up and down or side to side? Exactly, just side to side. So I'm going to go ahead and look for a motion that'll help me do that. So I know that when I used my basketball, I used move 10 steps. So maybe I can try that. And I also had it going on forever. And I remember that, and if you forget, you can just look at your Sprite, right? And I said if it moved on the edge, I want it to bounce. So let's see if that same step would work with ours. Let's see what that looks like. So it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. I moved my paddle left to right, but I have no control over my paddle. How can I get more control over it or easier control over it? So that way when I'm moving my mouse, I can control it. Let's see if we can find a code that can help us with that. So I'm going to stop that for now. So I know I have to move my paddle. So I'm going to look under motion. Under motion, let's see. Oh, here we go. Point towards mouse pointer. Let's see. So I'm going to go ahead and put that into my code. Now, I don't think I'll need this. Let me get rid of my 10 steps. Let me get rid of my forever, actually. Let's see what this looks like. So you'll see there's a lot of steps right here on my page, but none of these should work because the only thing that should move is when I tell it to. So whenever I click this, it should point towards the mouse pointer. So let's take a look. I'm going to stop it. Oh, let's take a look. So that's not working. I wonder why. So I know that I told it to point towards my mouse pointer. But now it's following me everywhere with my mouse pointer. How can I make sure that it stays on just left to right? I don't want it to go up here. Let's see if I can find another motion that can help me with this. Let's see. I'm going to set my X to Oh. So I looked in motion and I noticed that nothing was working, right? It just wasn't listening to me. So now I want to play around with it to make sure I can have it follow my mouse pointer, right? And I know that when I go left to right, it's going to set X, right? So this one didn't work either. So let's try setting X. Now I'm going to go under sensing, because maybe it can sense what's going to happen with my mouse. Oh, let's take a look. So I have at mouse X. So I have mouse X here, and I want to set X to my mouse. So wherever my mouse is, that's what I want to set it to. Let's see what that looks like. Right. So why didn't that work? Let's take a look. Watch this. I'm going to press go. And look at the way my paddle followed my mouse up here. That's not what I wanted to do. Let's stop. Let me move my paddle back here. I'm going to make sure that it looks straight. So my Y should be 0. Nope. So you can see that here I have my X and my Y, and wherever I move it, my X and Y will also change. Let's see, let's try to set our X based on where my mouse is. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so now I have this weird side paddle that's moving along with my mouse, so it's doing exactly what I wanted to do. But because I've played around with it so much, I need to try to figure out how to make it straight again. So let's see how we can do that. Okay, so now you'll notice that my paddle looks even worse than it did before. So we have to find a way to make it straight. Remember that over here, you control what your sprite can look like. So I'm going to click on my paddle. It's on my paddle. The size is 100. Now this direction is 0. Let's see if we can move this direction so it can be straight across. Let me see. I'm going to do 90 degrees because that'll make a nice straight angle. Let's try that. 90. Enter. Okay. Let's take a look at my perfect and my paddle. And so it's straight. So I have all these things here that are extra. I want to get rid of it so it's not bothering me with my code. So I'm going to go ahead and right click on it and I'm going to delete my block. Delete and delete. So let's take a look. Perfect. This is exactly what I wanted to do. It's moving along with my mouse. It's moving left to right. It is straight across. Now, we're going to move on to our next step. So, the ball and my paddle are independent of each other. That means it doesn't matter what I'm doing with my paddle, my ball doesn't care. So now we have to make sure our ball touches the paddle. So that'll be our next step. So now we are on step 3, touch the paddle. So to do this, first we need to go ahead and come back to our basketball. That's what we'll work with for now. So I already have this code here. I'm going to leave that be. And I'm going to go ahead and start a new code here. For my new code, I want to make sure my basketball touches my paddle. So I'm going to look at a control. I'm going to see if something can help me here. Oh, so I see an if-then statement. That shows me that if something happens, then something else will happen. So I'm going to try to put in if my basketball touches my paddle, then I'll tell it exactly what I want it to do. So I'm going to bring that over here. But here I have to make sure I have if touching my paddle. I want to make sure my basketball touches my paddle. Now, where can I look for that? I know last time when I worked with my paddle, for it to find my mouse, I went to sensing. So maybe this time, if my basketball senses my paddle, that might work. Let's see. If touching mouse pointer, no. But I do want to touch my paddle, so let's see if that's an option. Here we go. We have edge and paddle. So I'm going to change that to paddle. So if my basketball is touching my paddle, so I'll bring that in here, then now I'm going to need to tell it what to do. I can have it move. Let's take a look. Let's go back to motion. Let's say move 10 steps. I'll put that in here. 10 steps. Let's see what that looks like so far. And remember, it's not going to do anything until I tell it when to do it. So I'm going to look at my controls and my events, and let's see. So let's see what that looks like right now. So I'm going to try to make it touch. And so it's not doing too much. So now I know I need to work more with my code to make it work better. When it touches my paddle, I'm going to tell it to turn a certain amount. So that way I know that it's actually touching my paddle. So I'm going to go back to motion because I still want it to move. And maybe this time I'll just have it turn a certain amount of degrees. So here I will just put this for now, see what that looks like. In here, now it's already turning 15 degrees, so I can't really see the difference of when it touches the paddle. So what I'll do is, I'll go to operators, because that way I can control more of what's happening. And I'm going to say, pick something random. Let's make it 170 to 190. I'm going to put that in my box in here. So it's going to turn 170 to 190 degrees. Okay. Let's see what that looks like now. So you'll see that it moved when it touched it. But it still looks a little weird. It's still going and not recognizing. Me as the player can't recognize that it actually touched it. So I might have it wait a few seconds before it does anything else. So let's see. I'm going to go make it wait. So I have to control that. So let's have it wait for, let's say, 0.5 seconds. And I'm going to move that over here. And then I'm going to have it go on forever. The entire block. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so my ball isn't doing exactly what I want it to do. Because sometimes it doesn't look like it's actually hitting it. So I'm going to go look back into my code to see if there's something that I can use to fix it. I noticed that I have wait 0.5 seconds outside of my if box. Let's see if that helps. Because I don't like the way that it's not stopping to show me that it's actually hitting my green paddle. So let's see if that helped. Oh, that looks so much better. Now I can actually tell that the ball is hitting the paddle and it's waiting 5 seconds to make that happen. Perfect. Now, we're going to move on to our next step. Our next step is game over. How can we know that it'll be game over? So first thing I'm going to need to do is create another line under here. So I'm going to use that same sprite I did in the beginning. I'm going to look for my sprite. Look at that line I used earlier. And I'm going to use that on the bottom. So I moved it all the way to the bottom. So that way I know that if it touches this, if the ball touches my red line, then I want the game to stop. That sounds like an if and then statement, right? If my ball touches the red line, I want it to stop. So let's see what I can use here. I'm going to go back into my controls and let's see. Sorry, my controls. And if something happens, then something else will happen. So my goal here is if my basketball touches my red line. And now, where can I go to make sure I can fill this in? Remember last time we went to sensing? So remember I'm on my red line now, so if my red line is touching not my basketball, Oh yeah, if my red line is touching my basketball, so I'm gonna go put that in here. Right, so if we look at the other options, we're talking about the edge, the mouse pointer, or the paddle, right? So all we care about right now is the relationship between my red line and the basketball. So as soon as it happens, what do I want it to do? So I'm going to take a look. I want everything to stop when this happens. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look over here. So under my controls, I want everything to stop. So let's see. Oh, here, I see stop, stop all. So I'm going to include that in here. So if my basketball is touching my red line, then stop all. Now, I want this to happen all the time, so I'm going to make sure I have my forever statement in there. And with my forever statement, I'll have this, but I need it to control. So I'm going to, I need to tell it when to do this. So I'm going to go to my events. So when the green line is clicked. Okay, so let's take a look at what that looks like. Stop. So now I just stopped everything, right? But I needed to reset back to where it was. So I'm going to set the position of the line here. Let's see. Under motion, I'm going to go ahead and set X to 0 and Y to 173. Actually, it's perfect where it is. Let's see. Let's take a look. Oh, perfect. So it's doing exactly what I want it to do. And my line stays right here at all times. So it doesn't move. So whenever this is reset, nothing happens to my line except it goes back to the position it's in. Right? So this is going to be game over. So now I need to go ahead onto my next step to see how all of this is going to work together. Ready? Step 5, score points. So now when my ball touches my green paddle, I want to make sure it scores points. So to do that, first thing we need to do is we're going to click on our basketball because that's what's going to make our points score. I'm going to go down to variables. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and move this to the side because I know I'll be working with more code for my basketball. Here, I'm going to make a variable. My variable name is going to be score. So S-C-O-R-E, score. And once you have that, go ahead and click OK. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go to my ball sprite. In my ball sprite, I'm going to add a new code. Well, let's take a look. So here, I already had my code when my flag is clicked. If it's touching the paddle, then I want it to do this. Now, what I'll do is I'm going to include something new into this code. I'm going to go ahead and change my score. So remember, I just added a variable, but now I can change my score by 1 point. So that means if my ball touches the paddle, I'm going to change my score by 1 point. Now, I want to make sure that in the beginning, whenever I start my game, my score which is right here, will stay at 0. Will begin at 0. So I'm going to create a code for that. Set my score to 0. And I'm going to bring that over here. And I'm going to go back to events when my flag is clicked. So when my flag is clicked, it's going to start a new game every time. So let's take a look. And you'll see that my score changed to 1 point, right? But it touched the red line right after, so that means it was game over for me. Okay, now let's move on to our next step. Ready? Step 6. So now we have our game, but what happens when you win? So step 6 is win the game. So we're going to tell the computer how many points we need to win the game and what should happen if we do. So let's take a look. First thing I'm going to do is add this paint right here. And on it, I'm going to go ahead and write you win. So I'm going to use this T for text box. I'm going to say you win. Now, you can play around with this however you want. You can make the colors different. You might make it red and bold, or maybe something more green. So you can play around with this however you'd like. I'll make mine nice and green. And then you can make it bigger or smaller. Let's see. I would want it right there. And now you can kind of see what it looks like on your background as well. And so this green is kind of too dark for my background, so I might try a different color. Maybe a lighter green. Let's see. So you can play around with this however you want. But what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and go back to my code. And I'm going to add a code for my new sprite, you win. Now, when should it show this? I get to decide, as the person who's creating my game, how many points I need. So I'm going to put down 2 points. You can put down 5, you can put down 10, whatever you'd like. What I'm going to do is go ahead and hide my green sprite. So I need to hide it. Let me look for my hide button. Remember, hide is going to be a look, right? If you see something or if you hide something, it's going to be a look. So I'm going to go under look and see if I can find hide. Oh, perfect. Hide is right here. And I want it to stay hidden until a certain point. So I'm going to tell it when to stay hidden until. So I'm going to control that. So it's not going to wait 5 seconds. It's going to be based on, wait until. It's going to be based on my score. So I'm going to wait until my score. So for me, I'm going to put down 2 points. So I'm going to go under operators. So I need my variable to equal 2 points. So I'm going to look for that equal sign. Here's an equal sign. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in here. And I want it to be 2 points. And what was my variable again? Score. Exactly. So I'm going to go ahead and look in my variables. And I'm going to go ahead and bring that over here. Perfect. So I'm going to hide until my score is 2. And when that happens, I need it to show again. So if I wanted to show, that is, where should I look? Exactly, looks. So I'm going to go to show. So I'm going to hide, wait until my score is equal to 2, and then it's going to show. And once that happens, I'm going to stop everything. So just like before, with my game over, I'm going to control to stop all. As soon as you win, I want my game to be over. But none of this is going to happen until I tell it when for it to happen. So just like all my other sprites, I'm going to have it start when my flag is clicked. So let's see how that worked out. I'm going to start it. Start over here. Perfect. So remember, I need to get 2. Perfect. I got my 2 points. My score is equal to 2. Score is equal to 2. And you win was hidden until I decided I wanted to show it again. And it stopped everything. Perfect. So now you can change around that score however you'd like. So maybe you might want to put in 5. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. So I won my game. Or, let's see what it looks like if I didn't win it. Let's see. 1. And it just stopped everything. Right? Now, if you wanted to move forward with this, you can also change it however you'd like. Remember, it doesn't need to be in a basketball. It can be under the ocean. It doesn't have to be a basketball. It doesn't even have to be a paddle. It can be someone jumping for the basketball. Or it can be a reef trying to collect something in the water. You get to decide how you want to play your game, how you want to create your game. Another thing that you can do to make it even more challenging is you can increase the score, or you can even increase to make it another basketball. So you would have 2 basketballs going at the same time. So you can figure out how you want to make this more challenging for your players, or how you want to design it for your players. Remember, you're the creator, so you get to do whatever you'd like. Okay? Make sure you experiment and have fun.